Welcome to Southern Soul Chats, where this season we will be diving into the stories of individuals who have navigated the deeper waters of faith. I'm your host, Dr. Miranda Ferguson, and together we'll explore the journeys of people who've taken that courageous step forward in their faith. Get ready to be inspired as we uncover the incredible stories of unwavering belief and the remarkable impact it's had. If you're excited to join us on this faith-filled exploration, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Let's step forward. Hey y'all, I'm so glad you made it back to our newest episode of Southern Soul Chats. We have officially entered February, aka the month of love. So there's no better topic to chat about than our kids and the love that we have for our kids and how our kids shape our lives. And y'all know how much us mamas and daddies love our littles. So in today's episode, we are going to be exploring the next chapter, which is life after children, also known, aka empty nest syndrome, a time teeming with possibilities and the chance for God to redefine our purpose. Joining us today is going to be Beverly Cook. She's going to provide lots of insight into navigating this uncharted territory. Together, she and I are going to go into the emotions, the faith, and the transformations that come from embracing the next chapter with open hearts and a trust in God's guiding hands. So, welcome, Beverly. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's good to be here.
It is so great. So, I do not know a lot about empty nest syndrome.
Not quite.
And I think I did the math with you, and I'll be 70 with my littlest one.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure I'm going to skip empty nest syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Probably so.
It's hard because I do have a 25-year-old. And so you would think there might be a little bit of that, but there's really not because I have so many other little people that I have just enough time to have some concern about him and worry and check in, but not enough to where I see a lot of, I just don't see a lot from that.
Sure.
You know, it's enough to be like, you're grown, you can do this. Yes. Call me if you can't.
Yes.
Now I got somebody in the toilet overflowing it.
Right. That's right.
Somebody's pulling the dog's legs.
I did your time.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll circle back around to you.
That's right.
So, unfortunately, I just don't have a lot.
That's okay. That's okay.
But it's just like any other time with the stories. I'm so glad that God has people who've gone before and that they can reach into these places that maybe I don't have experience in that particular area personally.
Right.
I might know about it clinically.
Sure.
But to have somebody who can pour into that and then even through that show how it relates to other things in our lives that I do have experience in. So I'm really excited to talk about the next chapter.
Thank you.
And I think for me, I think that it's really good. We don't want to lose. You don't like turn it off here and go, oh, wait, I'm not an empty nester. There's still a lot within this conversation that is applicable.
Yep.
To all types of the next chapter.
Seasons, yes.
The next
Correct.
season.
Yes.
The moving and shifting of life.
Yes.
If you are an empty nester, you'll definitely be able to relate with this. If you're not, I think you still can relate to it. And men definitely don't cut out on us because even though it's a small percent, men do deal with this.
Sure.
It is a very small percent when you're looking at statistics with women and men. But men, here's the deal. Like, if your wife is dealing with this or you know you're about to enter into a season, this would be really good to hear and understand what you're about to walk through so you can sympathize and possibly empathize with your wife better. So we're not trying to give it a medical diagnosis here, but we want your wives or you to struggle well.
Yes.
So
that's a good way to say it. Struggle well.
We want you to struggle well. And again, like I said, I think there's a lot to take away from this that maybe you need to struggle well in a different area. And I think today will cover that.
Yeah, I think so.
So just for people who don't really, maybe they haven't entered that season or that's not something that's on their horizon. Like, how would you describe empty nest syndrome? If you had to explain it, like if you just had to describe it to somebody, if they said, what is that, Bev? What is that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, empty nest, we refer to as, when your last kid leaves home. So that could be they go to college or they move out to start their own life, but suddenly it's just you if you're a single parent, or it's just you and your spouse. And so you're left with, what am I to do now? Right. And I don't know that it's interesting. I've never heard it been called the syndrome before, but so it's definitely just a brand new season of life.
Well, if you look it up, it's empty
real.
nest syndrome.
It's there.
It's not a medical. Again, it's not a medical. You're not going to go to the doctor and get a prescription for it. Although there are things that come from it that you may need to do that.
Sometimes you might need to, for sure.
But it's not going to read empty nest syndrome on the label.
That's right.
I like to think about this as being, when you have an issue, let's say this was your issue.
Yeah.
There's a root to that issue. And those roots could be the cause of needing to see a doctor.
Absolutely.
So again, it's not a you're not going to get like, sorry, ma'am, I'm giving you today your diagnosis.
Yeah. It's a season of grief and rebirth. So reimagining, recreating your life, right? And so that will affect people in different ways, and they're going to feel different things in the midst of it, I think. But that's basically what starts it is your last kiddo leaves home.
Right. And I saw, as I was researching this and digging into it, that a lot of people like to refer to it as a freedom nest.
Yeah.
By changing your perspective, and we can get into that later, but I found that to be really interesting. I was like, I guess it's all in the way you look at it, right?
Yep.
It's a freedom nest.
Yep.
So we'll circle back.
Yep. Okay.
So some of the things that you may see in the empty nest stage of life, that you may have some emotional adjustments. I think that's really fair.
Yeah.
And you're going to hear a lot of these in Bev's story, so I'm not going to get into them. There's definitely identity shifts.
Yes.
Relationships changes. And I'll say that in therapy and just in knowing people that we're friends with, what I've seen the most is that this is normally with your husbands. Because over raising children, there's a disconnect, and you've thrown so much into raising your kids that you don't know who this man is anymore. He doesn't know who you are anymore.
Right. Yes.
So all of a sudden, you have no kids, but you have a husband.
That's right.
And
even if you did all the right things,
right?
Going, you had date nights and you had vacations and you took time to be together, blah, 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 blah. It's still just suddenly you
and your husband
all the time.
Oh. And I can only relate to that because my husband's been working from home for 3 years.
Right.
And I've seen him all the time.
That's right.
I go to HEB just to have a vacation.
Yep, I hear you.
So there's also, you might see it as some loneliness, loss of routine.
Yep. Loss of purpose.
Yeah, loss of purpose, empty spaces where things used to be filled and there was full of laughter or hustle and bustle. All of a sudden, those spaces are empty.
Yeah.
Even a reevaluation of your priorities.
100%.
Yeah. And so that's just a few things to note that while empty nest periods can present challenges, a lot of people find this as a renewed time of personal growth, and they begin to focus on their well-being.
Yep.
So we just shared that to say, okay, here's some of the things you might be noticing.
Sure.
Emotionally speaking, for people, it's really, they're kind of all tangled up again.
Yes.
Loss and grief.
Yes.
Identity shift.
Yes.
Mixed emotions. One day you might be really happy, but the next day you could be a puddle of tears.
Yeah. Or you're super happy that there's not socks all over the place, and that there's not backpacks at the door, and that all of the dishes make it at least into the sink. Right. So you're super happy about those
Do you know the one thing that I'd be super happy about, y'all? This is no joke. I seriously have 5 boys, right?
Yeah.
I would just be happy that the bathroom didn't smell like urinal.
Yeah.
On Bourbon Street.
It's super nice. I work from home. My office is upstairs and the kids' rooms are upstairs, and it's neat and tidy up there all the time.
I don't even know what that would feel like.
There's a little part of that that's quite lovely.
Oh, it sounds like a dream. That I'll never have.
That part is real. Well, when you're 70,
when
and then you have grandkids.
Yeah, and they're peeing all over my floors. So, of course, there's potential for depression.
Absolutely.
In this season.
Very much.
Having to adjust to the newness. And then, checking your goals.
Yep.
Like, these are all things, again, that we want to just make sure that you understand as a listener or a husband or somebody who's walking through or about to, that these are real things.
For sure.
And this is just everybody's different, but this is just a hint of clinically what they look like across the board when they say, what did you feel?
Right.
So
Yes,
we
I
just
agree.
wanted to put that out there in case anybody wasn't sure
Yes.
what exactly we were talking about when we say empty nest
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
syndrome or not.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into your story, why don't you tell us just a smidge about who you are? I don't want to take away from your story because you have a great story. But who you are, and I always ask my guests, were you raised in faith, or did you find faith later in life? So the stage is yours. Here you go.
There you go. Well, I have one husband. We've been married for almost 32 years this summer. We have 3 kids. The oldest is 29, the next one is 23, and the last one is 19. So there's a 10-year age span in there, which means that we were raising children for 30 years, and we had 18 years of adolescence in our home. So,
and you survived.
And we survived. Yeah. So that's our family life. I have been an ordained minister in the Church of the Nazarene for 30 years, but I've been involved in ministry for 32 years, as long as we've been married. I've been a youth pastor, a children's pastor, an associate pastor. I started a house church in Harlem, New York when we lived there. And, so that's a huge part of our story, right? So we're a ministry family. My husband is a teacher, but he's also always been the part-time worship leader at our churches. So I always say that all men have hobbies. Mine gets paid for his.
Nice. Can we sign up on that for you?
Super thankful for that. Very gifted worship leader. And that has taken our family from Houston to Lubbock to San Diego, which is the bulk of where we raised our children, then to this beautiful 3-year experience in New York City, and then back to Houston. So full circle life. We think we should get to live in Chicago one day, but that way we've kind of made it to the 4 corners of the United States.
Hey, it's never too late.
It's never too late. No, it's never too late. So we have 2 dogs, and I think that's about all.
And were you raised in a faith?
Yeah. I
house?
was raised in a very, very faithful, mission-minded family. My dad would, every now and then we'd go on streaks of, family devotions. Excuse me. And he would always end them with prayers for us. They were so important for me. He was praying all these big things, Jesus, we want them to be, if they want to be doctors or lawyers, he was always putting these big things out there. But nothing matters if they don't know you as their personal Lord and Savior. And I think in my recollection, every time we had a family altar prayer time, that's what he prayed. But I will also say that I was a pretty tumultuous teenager, and I had a pretty good wild ride in college. So for a couple years there in college. So in my tradition,
so he was praying a little different during your college years.
I don't think he knew about that. So maybe he won't listen to this part. But he did know about junior high and high school. So 2 very faithful parents who had pretty strong-willed children. Right? That my brother and I are very different. I'm more like, we don't need rules. We should just go where we'd like if I want to do it. And so anyway, I just want to say that even I was raised in this very faithful, beautiful home, but my walk for a little while there was up and down, right?
So almost like normal.
Very, very normal. Yeah. You go to youth camp, you get everything straight, then you go back to school and, and then within 1 week, you're like, oh my gosh, But we also understand so much more about grace these days than we did in the 80s. So we understand that, a few bad words on Monday morning doesn't mean that Jesus has abandoned you. Right. So, I might not have gone to the altar as much if I had been raised in 2010 but being raised in the 80s, you had to go all the time.
Well, so that's so funny because last season there was something we were talking about. I was raised in Baptist church, Southern. Okay, Alabama. Southern Baptist church, right? And I'm pretty sure I've rededicated my life. I can't even count. No. Because you would go to youth camp and you realize you have what a horrible teenager.
That's right.
That's right. And you need to rededicate.
Yeah.
And then
I had to get resaved. You had to get rededicated. Yeah. Right. So, but we don't really Yeah.
Yeah.
We've grown so much.
Oh yeah, we've leaps and bounds. I can't even tell you the last time I've seen a church talk about you need to come get rededicated.
I know, right? That's right. That's right.
But I was covered through my teenage years.
I was covered 100%.
I mean, and I wonder if God was up there like, really again?
Yeah.
Like, did somebody send a memo down there?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, we're doing this. Oh, again.
Again.
Okay. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. It's not a thing anymore.
No.
It's not a thing anymore. But you know what? It is. We learn.
We
right?
learn. That's
We
right.
learn.
That's right.
And at least I was covered.
Yes. God's grace.
I was already covered, but I
know.
think my parents felt better because yeah.
We understand each other.
There you go.
And many of our listeners are understanding right now.
So
too.
all of you can know we're all in the same boat together. And Jesus still loves you.
Jesus still loves you.
He's not angry with you. Okay?
No, that's right. That's right.
But it's funny because that's just how it was.
That's right.
That's
That's
just
right.
how it was. Okay, so I'm so excited for everybody to hear because in your story you talk about ministry and is your brother in ministry?
No.
So completely different.
Yeah, completely different pathways. Great human being, but just totally different pathways.
He got the doctor, lawyer, or whatever else Daddy was talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm super excited because you really do go through your time in ministry and your marriage and just some real authentic feeling. Like she didn't hold back, y'all. So so I tell you what, why don't you share your journey?
Yeah.
Let's do it. And
Well,
we'll
let's
go
just
through it.
start from I was a mom for 30 years. I had a very full life. So I had a full-time ministry life. When we did finally move to New York after 25 years of being involved as a paid staff member on a church, I was no longer working for a church. I was doing something else, but we started a house church there in our apartment. And so my life is full of best friends. It is full of girls' retreats. It's full of every couple of years, my husband and I go on a vacation by ourselves. We didn't do those weekly date nights because
Who's got time for that?
Some people do. I don't know.
Not at the Ferguson household. I just want to go to bed.
I just want to go to bed. So, but we still look back on those 30 years. Like we did things not only the way you were supposed to do them, but the way we believed the Lord was calling us, and we had to do tweaks. We had to check in every now and then. But we had a healthy marriage and a healthy family. And
yeah, but you told me like a year after, like you were about to have a baby. So even though you did it perfect, it didn't like that wasn't exactly ideal.
Yeah. After we'd been married for about a year, we found out that we were having our first kid. And so that was way sooner. Like I always wanted to have kids, but when I was 36, not 26.
Right.
So that projected us quickly into that. Super thankful that she came along because after her, I had a series of miscarriages. And if I didn't know the beauty of having a baby, I probably would have quit. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
So,
and you told me you cried for like 9 months.
I did. I cried for 9 months because I was like, I'm so not ready. I'm not ready to be a mom. I have no idea how to be a mom. I babysat, but I liked them once they could talk.
Yeah.
I didn't really enjoy infants, and I knew absolutely nothing.
So it wasn't
about
you
a
weren't
baby.
crying because like you didn't want to have kids. It was just you didn't want to do it, and you're a year into a husband.
It's just like there's no way. I have no idea what I'm doing here. So, like I remember, we did all the birthing classes, and 2 days before her due date, we had our last birthing class. And the lady was saying that the instructor was saying we needed to wash all the baby clothes, and I was like, well, why would you do that? I mean, that's how,
right.
And in case you need to know, it's because it has all kinds of dyes and chemicals that could affect your baby's skin.
Right.
So the next day we lived in an apartment. I went to the laundromat, washed all the clothes. Luckily I did because she was born 24 hours later. So, but this is like all these little kinds of things.
Yeah. The last minute. Look, when I had my oldest,
Mm-hmm.
I had just turned 20. So I was pregnant most of all of 19.
Yeah.
And I remember they came in, and this is before they like left them with you all the time. Like now when you have a baby, they're like, here's your kid.
Yes. Figure it out.
Call us. We're not going to call you. So this is when they would still wheel them in and wheel them out. They gave you whatever. So I remember they brought him in the first time and they had a bottle And she just looks at me and she's just like, here's your little bundle of joy. And she goes to walk out and I was like, whoa. Where's the instructions? She's
That's
like,
right.
What instructions?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
What am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
Like, what if I, just call me honey, you'll be fine.
That's
oh,
right.
no.
Yeah.
Like, I remember in that moment thinking, uh-oh.
I know.
They just gave this to me.
I know.
And there's no instructions.
There's no instruction manual.
Not on the toe, not on
Right.
the ankle.
Nothing.
I'm looking in the thing.
Yeah, there's nothing. Nothing at all.
None.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for instructions, you're not going to get them.
Yeah. Find a spiritual mother to mentor you through that. But the moment I held Anna, my entire life shifted. And so for the last 30 years, even though I've had this really full life, every decision I made was guided by these three little humans in my life. So if what time I got up in the morning, what time I got off in the afternoon, what we did every evening, what I bought at the grocery store. Those are just the little things, But then there's all the intentional stuff that goes into mothering. And all of that everything that drove my life. And again, I had a very full life outside of my kids, was still dictated by those humans in my life. And I remember, I think my oldest is Anna. I think she was about 4 years old. I was a youth pastor here in Houston, and my life was like kind of spinning out of control with all of the things that I was doing, right? And I was doing some district and regional and national things in youth ministry and trying to parent this kid and be a local youth pastor. And I finally went, wait, Lord, what have you called me to do? And I really believe he gave me these 4 words. You are a wife, you are a mom, you are a youth pastor, and you are a friend. And the only way that shifted in the last 4 years of my life is what kind of pastor I was. So I was always a wife. I was always a mom. I was always some kind of pastor, and I was a friend. So all of a sudden, the thing that I am living for, the thing that I'm called to do, this summer, my middle daughter moved out. She went away to college, and then she came home for a year, but she moved into her own apartment, and she moved out at the end of July, and then we took our youngest to college like 10 days later. And and it was just
double whammy.
It was just, oh my word, what is this? And my husband did all the right things. He planned the kinds of events that I would like to do. He found fun, creative places that he knew I would like to eat. We did all kinds of late Sunday brunches, after church brunch, and we did date nights, He did absolutely all the right things, and I still found myself empty, gigantic season of grief. I'm going to make it really clear. This is going to sound like I was really headed into a depression, but I wasn't suicidal on any level, but I just kept saying, what is the point of my life?
Right. I think you told me, like, what do I do with this mom piece?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Like,
I would get things from people like very well-meaning, like whenever you're in a season of grief, people always are well-meaning, but, well, you're always a mom. No, you're not the same kind of mom. Mm-hmm. And oh, this is going to pass. Well, maybe, but I don't know. I don't know what it's going to pass into. And I don't really know that I want something new. And that's how like it's a real season of grief, right? When you can't even imagine what the other side's going to be like, and you don't really want the other side. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Oh, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah. So like one of the things that I say often to people is your best days are before you. And in that season, I was like, I don't think my best days are before me. I think my life is over, and there's really no point.
Right. Yeah. And that's where, when I mentioned earlier when we started, it's not just when your kids leave. I mean, people walk through this with change of jobs.
Yes.
Loss,
Yes.
like loss when somebody physically is taken away from them.
Yes.
These are the emotions because
Yes.
you can't believe in the moment.
Right.
that
Yes.
There's something better
Right.
than this.
Right. Right.
You know, and it does all sound good, and it is true that you do see that it does come. But when you're the person,
Right.
it doesn't feel that way.
Right. Right. And I even have a really meaningful job now. I mean, I work for a nonprofit that does work in India, right? And so, and I have a beautiful, volunteer ministry with our local church. And so, I mean, I still have these things that are purposeful, but the grand purpose of my life was done.
Right. Yeah. One thing I noted in my notes that you said too is that when you said, "What do I do with this mom piece?" Like, it's why I got up in the morning. It's it was the mission of my kids.
Yes.
Was gone. And when you just lined that up, you said, wife, mom, minister, friend. Well, you're still a wife.
Yeah.
You're still a minister. You're still a friend. But then you're like, I am a mom.
Yeah.
I am. They still belong to me, but I'm not momming them.
I'm not momming them. It's not the grand purpose. I will always be their mom, and I will always be there for them, and I will always be praying for them, and I will always be seeking the very best for them. But that intentional mothering piece is no longer, that's not my job anymore.
Yeah.
I can still do intentional things for them, but it's not my 24 hours, 7 day a week job.
It's like your job response, like when you have a job outside of your home that you go to, it's almost like when your job responsibilities change.
Right.
You still have that job.
Yes.
They're still paying your paycheck.
Yes.
But now what you did every single day
Right.
is out the window.
Right. Right.
And you go, "What? But I really liked that."
Yeah.
That was a good schedule.
Yeah.
That worked for me.
Yeah. So I found myself crying a lot. I'm not a crier, tearing up a lot. I'm not a tearer-upper. And so I finally decided I don't think I can get through this on my own. And I did seek a professional Christian counselor. I needed some outside help to talk through it. And one of the things that she encouraged me to do that I think is really important for women, especially if you find yourself really emotional, you should go get your hormones and your thyroid checked.
Yeah. Start with a doctor.
You should just make sure. I do have a history of low thyroid, and I was set for my 6-month checkup. And when I went in, there was, even though I take medicine every day, there was zero thyroid working in my body. So, we upped that dose, and within a week, I was already feeling like I can at least see tomorrow. I was not crying all the time, Yeah.
So, and I think an important thing too, I like to remind people here that a lot of people go, I don't need anybody's help. I can do this by myself. We weren't created. I said this in an episode when we started the season 2. We're not created to do things alone.
Right.
Yes, God provides provision. He provides help. He gives
Right.
guidance. The Holy Spirit moves. But sometimes we do need to take that extra step. And it doesn't mean you're going to be in therapy the rest of your life.
No. Right.
It's not like a commitment. It's
Yes.
not a life. If you're in therapy for your whole life, I'm thinking we might want to change therapists because it's supposed to be a help.
Right.
Not what you're holding on to every day to get through.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, there's a stigma around that. Like, if I go, I have to go forever. It's just a money hole. No, sometimes we really do need somebody who's not connected to our situation.
Well, and there's only so much that your best friends can take from you. We need, I have some of the best friends in the world, and they knew what I was going through, but I just didn't feel like I could sit there and process every last detail that I feel. And I think that's important for our friendships, to not make them there's a difference between girlfriends talking and talking out life and wanting girlfriends to be our therapist. And I think we have to honor our friendships and not push them that far. And we should acknowledge too that if you are listening and you have a diagnosed mental illness, you might need ongoing therapy.
Yes, that's different.
Yeah. But for these seasonal kinds of things, you should be able, to jump in and then check out. So,
and your doctor knows best with those.
Absolutely.
We're not trying to override your doctor. This is a seasonal conversation.
It's a seasonal conversation.
And it's funny, right now I'm doing This is like the third year I've said I'm going to read through the whole Bible.
Oh, yeah.
And I make it to like July, and then
Yeah.
I just go to the New Testament because I'm tired of all the names I can't pronounce, and I just don't get it. So I'm giving it another whirl, but I'm doing it chronologically this time.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm in Job. So as you're talking about friends,
Oh, yeah.
I've had a whole new perspective on friends and even my role as a friend.
Yes.
And so as you were talking, I was thinking, man, I just got done reading Job and all his friends. She's so spot on with this. That's a great example.
Yeah. So anyway, so through that, I think my therapist would say this too, that my big breakthroughs did not always come from like her wisdom. It came from her listening, from her guiding, and then the Lord speaking. Like I actively sought constantly the Lord. Mm-hmm. I didn't really pour over scripture. I know scripture. I know what the Bible says about seasons of grief and your purpose and your plan. You know, I know all those kinds of things, but just an active conversation with God and reflecting on where I had come from and where my life is going. And he gave me 2 key insights that have revolutionized my life that I think are really important in any transition of season. So the first one is that there is a difference between nostalgia and longing. So longing is me wanting to go back to having all my little chickadees back in my home on St. Anne Drive in San Diego, California, right? That's longing. I want them all back there. I have this moment that I can see. It's one of my favorite moments of being a parent. And I want to go back there. It's longing to recover that and to stay in that season. Nostalgia is looking back on that moment or other moments and going, oh, that was so good.
Yeah, and that smile.
Yeah.
That I wish you could see right now.
Yeah. And when I had that revelation from the Lord, all kinds of tears, it wasn't like it was a instant switch, right? Because grief is not linear, right? So it was okay. And Kelly was like, "Oh, Beverly, that's really good."
I'm going to use that.
I'm going to be using that one.
I'm writing that in the notebook.
Kid, you pay me for this therapy session?
That's right.
So, I will testify that 3 months after that, I live almost entirely in nostalgia. I mean, right. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I live today. I don't, I'm not.
It's not longing anymore. It's not, man, whoa, I wish I could have that back. Way, I wish they were in this bedroom.
Right.
Oh, because I think that's where the sadness.
That's where the sadness is.
Because your brain tells you back, it's not going to happen.
Right. My dad used to say, he used to always say, "Oh man, Bev, those college years, those were the best years of my life." Like he would say that over and over. And I always remember thinking in my head, I had other adults who would go, "Oh man, if I could be 21 again, oh." And from a very early age, Miranda, I remember thinking, I don't think that should be true. I think whatever season you're in should be the best season. So nostalgia and longing helps me with that immensely. But the other big revelation, this one's just hilarious, I think.
Don't you love it when God's funny?
And you only, if you really know me, you know why this is so funny. But I got out of bed one day and this was my thought. I bet that Barack Obama believes the most important thing he will ever do in his life is be president of the United States. In fact, I bet the conversation took this long in my head. In fact, I bet every president of the United States believes the most important thing they will ever do in their life is be president of the United States. It does not mean they won't go on and do important, meaningful things, but nothing will be as important as being president. So being mom is like being president, right?
Right.
So for me, it was, and I find great peace in this, I will never do anything as important as raise my 3 children.
Right.
It will never do anything. There will never be a greater privilege in my life than shepherding and raising those little souls. It doesn't mean I won't still do meaningful things and that I won't still contribute and make our world a better place and bring the kingdom to earth and raise up people who cannot speak for themselves, right? And stand for justice and freedom around the world. It's my soapbox right now.
Right.
So it doesn't mean I won't continue to do meaningful things. It just means that the most important thing, I can look back and go, yeah, those three little people were the most important things I've ever been given. So and that's okay. There's peace in that to me.
Yeah. And it's a huge job. Just like you said, the president, they'll always on their resume look at that and go,
yeah,
I might have done great things and changed, policies and procedures and I put things in place, but that's still the standout job.
That's still the standout job.
That's still the number one.
Right. I'm still going to do good things when I'm 90. I mean, Jimmy Carter, right? Continue.
Yeah.
I don't mean to focus on presidents, but he continued to do really great things in his life. But I'm guessing he would still say, yeah, the most meaningful thing I ever did.
Still was the president on resume. So I was looking up in scripture and different insights, and I came across, it's one that I've heard it 100 times, but I don't guess I really go to it that often. But it's in Ecclesiastes 3:1-4, and it says, to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down, a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. And if you look at this, it shows you that God isn't done with an individual's life beyond their roles as a parent, or even if this is a job situation as a worker, or if it's a loss, a personal loss, a real loss, as in death, life has ended.
Maybe you go through divorce. Maybe it's
that's a loss too.
Maybe it's the death of, this is not the life I thought I was going to live. Right? I mean, there's so many different ways that you can have to come to terms with the reality that you're living in.
Yeah. And it's hard because I think in the season when we were living it, it feels like that's all there is.
Right.
Right? Like,
yes.
Like this is it.
Right.
This must be everything I have.
Yes.
And like you said, I think it's uncomfortable to think there's something else, because a lot of people end up in counseling because they don't know how to change. They don't know how to bridge.
Yeah.
And like you said, go from mourning to the nostalgia.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? You get to take this with you.
Yeah.
You get to take it with you, and you get to take all the things God taught you in that season and still use them.
Right. Because he will bring them back into fruition, right? The things that you learned. He will continue the experiences that you have. You don't know how he's going to use those. And in the moment, you might not even care how he's going to use them, right?
Yeah.
But he's going to, 100%.
Yeah, and I believe that, God's work in people's lives extends beyond the roles we put on ourselves. In every season, including the empty nest phase, is a part of God's continuous work in shaping and molding us as a people for his purposes that go beyond me being a mother, me being a president, me being a worker, me being a divorced.
Right.
Name them all.
Right.
Name them all.
Right.
Like, it's a part of being here on earth.
You should say that first sentence again.
That God's work in our lives extend beyond those roles.
Yeah.
And that in each season, it's a part of God's continuous work of shaping and molding for the purpose of the kingdom.
Right. Right. My purpose does not end when the role ends.
Right. If anything, you're picking up a new role.
Right.
While getting to take the memories of that role with you.
Right.
And I think I can almost speak for myself. I'm not going to think it on other people.
Yeah.
And because I have 5 boys and the majority of them live in this house still and they're little, right? Yeah. So they think they're the boss. They think they're in control. They think each of them is more important than the other one, right? That's where we are.
Yeah.
We were so smart. So smart and starting over.
Yeah.
But I think, we find as parents, I'm not even gonna like put mothers out there by themselves, but as parents, we find our identities so deeply intertwined with the roles we play in raising our children.
Yep.
But then if you look back at, Philippians 1:6, it says, and I'm certain that God who began a good work within you will continue his work until it is finally finished on the day when Jesus returns. That verse assures us that God's work within us doesn't conclude with parenting.
That's right.
It just marks a new chapter.
Right.
So empty nest starts the new chapter in the book.
Right.
That God still has the pen in his hand.
Yes. It is very, very much true. It's hard to believe in the moment. And I'm going to even tell you right now that I don't really know what my next big purpose is. But I believe that God is still writing a story through me, accomplishing a purpose through me and in me, right?
Yeah, and even if you look back and still go, for me personally, my mom was my biggest role. Was my biggest role.
Right.
Even these things were great. I saw
Yes.
God move. I saw God do amazing things. I was a part of that. I got to mother people who were my spiritual children.
Yes.
It may be in your vision and thought process that was still the top of the resume.
Right.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I just think we have to remember, though, that God doesn't look at earthly roles the way we look at earthly roles.
I agree. Yes.
So for God, he sees Bev as the mom who raised 3 kids to step into his kingdom and do their part.
Right.
She instilled, she put seed, heal water, so I think we have to look at roles.
Right. Yeah.
And we're dealing with this. We're not dealing with empty nests. I clearly have said that.
Yeah.
But we're dealing with the fact of my husband losing a job. And we talked about that last season. And it's been funny to kind of think about this week and then see how for a man, a job, you have to be careful that job doesn't define you to the point that when you lose it, you then realize how much you were defined by who those people said you were and how valuable they said you were. And I watched my husband a few weeks ago really go through that narrative of, I can't believe that I really lost track of who I was in this arena, because I let them value me to the point to when I was gone, they took my value with them.
Yeah.
And so I think we really have to look at roles.
Yes.
And remember that earthly roles are just that.
That's right.
They're earthly.
Yes.
But godly roles are the duties, the assignments, the little tidbits that he gives you along the way. And those are the ones that change the kingdom. And all these roles are important too. I feel very certain that you raising your 3 kids, because I know as a mom what you had to do for all those years, that wherever he takes you, there will be things that you needed to draw from that cup.
For sure.
That you might not be able to understand if you hadn't have been a mom to this kind of personality or that kind of kid.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things with my oldest kid that when things happen, I go, well, thank God I had him, because I know all about this.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
But if I wouldn't have had him,
that's right.
If he hadn't have been a part of my biggest role,
that's right.
How would I have known to do that? Again, God has this divine plan.
Right.
And he nails it.
Yeah.
He nails it. He really does nail it. Yeah. I loved when you and I were talking, we talked about this spiritual mothering, and you were talking about pouring into things that are going to come. And we talked about Elizabeth. And so I told you, I was like, oh man, I really want you to talk about Elizabeth and how God plants people. So I don't, you might be going, well, I don't remember exactly what I said about Elizabeth.
I think I do, because we did this Bible study on women's relationships in scripture, I don't know, maybe a year ago at my church. And one of them was Elizabeth and Mary, and it's a totally different perspective on that relationship, because Elizabeth was so much older. They were pregnant together, but they were not really peers. And so you wonder what was it that Mary was looking for from Elizabeth, and what did Elizabeth get? So Elizabeth is, do we know how old she is? I can't remember. She's old. She's too old to have babies.
It says she's too old to have babies. So she's definitely older than Mary.
Sure.
Definitely.
Right.
So when it says they were cousins, right?
Right. And Zachariah.
It's not like they were 20 and 25.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And I always have a picture of Zachariah being this old gray-haired man. So, they're the, anyway, that part doesn't matter. So Elizabeth.
She's older. That's all you need to know.
She's old. Yeah. And Mary, I think that Mary runs to her. I mean, the angel says, go to Elizabeth. Why does she tell her to go to Elizabeth, right? Here is an older woman that is probably has always been a safe place for Mary. The angel wouldn't have told her to go somewhere that wasn't safe for her, right? And Mary stayed there for quite some time, sharing pregnancy things together for sure, but also I think just experiencing the warmth and the nurture and the safety of Elizabeth. And I think there was some there had to be a very, and we already used the word, but a spiritual mothering that occurred there for Mary in the home of Elizabeth. It was it was a safe place to stay. It was a place of laughter and joy, but I'm sure also of tears, and just the assurance, I think, from Elizabeth that, hey, I never thought I was going to have a baby. The Lord's going to be good to us. Look at him. Just that assurance that comes from somebody that has walked with the Lord a long time and can speak that faith into you.
Yeah, and I'm sure Mary couldn't just go talk to anybody.
No.
Because that culturally,
right.
she's pregnant, not married,
right,
and claiming that it's not from another human being.
Right.
I'm sure not all the doors were open.
Right.
Come here and let's talk about this.
So
there's
Elizabeth
a safety factor.
Yeah, and so Elizabeth can even understand that spiritual component of that, right? Because she shouldn't be having babies either, you know? So she understands the work of the Lord. And, I don't know how this necessarily relates to end of season or whatever, but I would say that if you are an older Christian woman who's walked some life, that you ought to be asking for the Lord to plant other women that you can love, right? That you can pour into, that you can nurture, that you can encourage, that you can raise up, that you can reassure when their baby's been crying for 3 days straight, that this too shall pass, and then they'll be a teenager. So enjoy this.
Yes, this is the good part. I think it's very applicable though, because first off, if you're a mom, if you've never been a mom, whatever, and you're older, there's wisdom that you have of just life, with or without children,
right?
If you are feeling that pull that your kids maybe don't want to hear all your great advice, or
right?
A lot of times our kids discount because we're mom.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever solve it.
Yeah.
But having, like you said, I think they get older and you go, well, my kids are gone, that's it. No, you have so much to offer.
Right.
Somebody who's younger than you,
right,
who maybe they don't listen to their mom, but they would listen to what you're saying and your experiences. And so I think it is really, it's a nudge, because I don't know that a lot of women just actively go and try to find, spiritual mothering.
Right.
And maybe they don't even realize that that's appropriate.
Right.
Or that they can do that.
Yeah, that they can do that.
Or they have anything to offer into that.
Right.
But they do.
Right. And you're also going to, Mary gave something to Elizabeth, right? Mm-hmm. So in any sort of mentoring relationship, it's going to be a two-way street.
Yeah.
They are going to, I think as a spiritual mother, I receive so much joy when, I'm just going to call them young ones, when young ones want to hang out with me. Right. It's just fun, And I see so much joy in watching them grow as humans, as believers, as moms, just in wisdom and stature, with favor with God and man, So I just love watching that, and that just brings me so much joy as I watch them flourish, right? And if I can just have I think at this point in my life where I'm at right now, is that if I can just, I don't need to be somebody's hero, but if I can just have a small little part in helping them know who they are in Christ and that they can flourish in him, right? If I can just have a small little part in making sure they know how special and how important and how key they are to Jesus, I would just count that a huge privilege.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't take away from the fact that you have your own children,
right?
Where now you've, forget y'all, I got some.
Yeah. No.
It's in addition to.
Yes.
Because this is your spiritual family.
Yeah.
I can imagine if I'd like to just take an imagination trip to heaven and seeing people that I ministered to, or that just, like you said, that small piece that something I said stuck, and maybe somebody else watered it, but that they're there and they're like, look, here I am.
It's so overwhelming, isn't it?
Yes.
To think that God would use the fallible me, who in August and September and the first part of October really thought her life was completely over.
Right.
And he would say, he would say, Bev, let me just rebirth a little something new in you, you know?
Yeah, and using your gifts and the tools he's already gave you through mothering or through ministering to spill over into someone else's life. I mean,
well, I think I just want to capitalize on that real quick. I think one of the things that's really key is that when we're in this new season we've touched on it, but we've said it, but I'm going to say it again, that he uses who you are. He's not going to invent a new Beverly.
right.
Right. And I mean, I have some really good friends who have reinvented their lives. And I've thought, oh, maybe I should try that. And I should try that. And well, I can't cook like Cindy. I can't serve like Susan, you know, like I can list all these different people. I don't have the energy level of Michelle, you know, like I can list all these people, but then I go, okay, well, maybe, and this is a bit of an epiphany right now, maybe you're still going to use me to be a Bible teacher, which is one of the things that I love to do, you know? So wouldn't that be a shocker?
Yeah.
You know?
That I capitalize on the gift I gave you and I just extend it out of your home. I mean, I know that's like alert somebody.
That just sounds so funny, but it has been a bit of a journey for me to go, what is he calling me to? It's probably not gonna be something all that different.
Yeah. It's going to be within your wheelhouse.
It's going to be within my wheelhouse.
He's not going to just poof make you like the master chef.
Right.
That's really sad though, because I wouldn't mind being a master chef. So when I was thinking about Elizabeth, right, and the story of Elizabeth, I went through and I found this this little place, and it had some things that I thought were interesting. So I'll share them real quick. It was like the lessons from the life of Elizabeth in the Bible. And it says, number one, God is Jehovah Jireh, and he always provides. And it talks about what you just said, that he provided a person for her to walk through what God was doing. So somebody who could understand swollen ankles, morning sickness, being visited by an angel. That alone. Like if I could sit with you and be like, hey, Bev, remember how that angel showed up? And you're like, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And you don't look at me like a beast with things coming to my ears, right?
Yeah.
So they provided comfort with each other as a part of God's plan. So he provided somebody for her to be able to talk to and walk through that with, because that's huge. This is really cool because you just said it, that she avoided the comparison trap, that both of these women were favored by God.
Yeah.
And each was giving a calling to a mother of men who are written about in prophecy. And so it wasn't, well, look at Judy down there.
Yeah.
Judy got that and Judy got this.
Right.
No, it was, this is what God gave me.
Yes.
It's what you just said.
Right.
This is what he gave me.
Right.
He's going to do the works within me. And I feel really, really strongly that if God wants you to do something else, he's going to give that to you as well.
Right. He'll make it really clear.
He'll equip it. So we don't have to keep looking at everybody else's lives.
Right.
And going, should I be doing that?
Yes.
Should it look like that? No.
Yes.
It should look like exactly what God has planned for you.
Absolutely.
And I think that's huge because especially in this day and age with the internet and keeping up with the Kardashians and the thises and the that's and Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
There's so many outlets trying to tell us who we should be like.
Right. And you have to seek
men and women.
Right. And you have to seek that out. I don't know that you just wake up one morning. I mean, in my earlier life, in all of my callings and seasonal things, it wasn't like I woke up one morning and poof, there it is. You know, you do have to seek out what that is and where he is leading you.
Yeah. Another one was like, said that God always keeps his promises. He kept the promise to Elizabeth through the prophecy that he gave her.
Yeah.
And it says you might be struggling with the plan God's given you.
Right.
Right. So we're talking about that now. Whatever season, whatever new chapter, it's probably a struggle.
Yeah.
I've never started something new that wasn't
a struggle.
Or a struggle. Like that I thought,
I mean, even when you start sending your kids to kindergarten, right? And then you have to send them to high school.
Yeah.
And then
you got to send them to college.
I mean, if they go to college, you have to just let them get their own apartment. You know, I mean, those are new things that are definitely seasons, you know, that Ecclesiastes talks about, but that doesn't mean that they're not birthed out of some heartache and some struggle.
Yeah, what's what you said. I mean, we might not see it now, but we know that God is always at work and he keeps his promises. And like you said, my best days are before me.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
the Bible tells us that.
Right.
That our best days are ahead.
Right.
I just think as people, we get so caught up in that this is all we have right now in the
That's
moment.
right. That's right.
This is it.
That's right. And I think I said this, but I feel like to be true to where I'm at in the season, in August and September, I did not believe my best days were before me.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So like today, I do believe my best days are before me. I don't know what they hold. Okay.
Yeah. And is it as important to you as it was then to know what they were? Like, do you
No,
feel like
I'm pretty much okay in the in between right now. Like
Yeah.
I think
letting the chapter be written right now?
yeah, which is unfamiliar territory with me, but I do have quite a bit of peace in that. There might even be something, and this would be for people probably particularly in an empty nest stage. It's okay to not be busy from 6 a.m. until 11 p.m. Like there's something, it's okay to just sit there and binge watch The Big Bang Theory every night for 3 weeks. You know, I mean, like you've worked really hard.
Right.
So like, it's okay
You
to just
deserve
kind
like a
of
little vacation.
It's okay to just sit back and,
Wouldn't that be like processing it all?
yeah, I think it's processing. I think it's a sabbatical, you know, that's probably well earned and well deserved. And,
Part of your non-paid benefits.
yeah, non-paid benefits. And I think, I think the Lord knows when you need to just come and sit a while.
Yeah.
And
Be still.
Be still.
I stink at being still.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at it.
Yeah.
Like really bad.
Yeah. I've gotten there. So I'm doing better.
There's hope for me.
I mean, I had to have all my kids leave before I got
Right.
there, you know? So yeah. And, you know, that part of that journey for me is that, I don't have to be achieving something to be worth something.
Oh, that. You should say that again.
I don't have to be achieving something to be worth something.
That's so good.
So
I might steal that.
yeah, it is pretty good, isn't it? So,
When you guys see that on Instagram and Facebook, Bev said it.
that's right. most of the time right now, most of the time I'm able to live in that and just kind of go, it's not something I'm called to do. I don't need to do it. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, that's where new mercies come in, right? We talked a few weeks ago about new mercies. And so let's say today you just totally stink at it. Like today you're in the bed, pajamas, crying. You're watching 18 episodes of The Chosen, the same one over and over again.
Right. Tomorrow's a new day.
You don't have to go rededicate yourself.
No.
And
to go back to the altar.
you don't
got
got to go back to the altar. Like you can just go to Jesus and be like, that didn't go well, but when I wake up in the morning, I believe that your mercies are new and we're going to try again.
Right.
It's like our gym thing we were talking about before we started. Like,
yeah.
There is another day
Right.
to try again.
There's another. Well, in my mid 30s, when I had a bit of a life crisis, so maybe this is normal, but normal for me. But that was another topic. But the Lord gave this to me that we are called to love the Lord our God, to love others, and to love ourselves.
Yes.
Right? When I get up in the morning, that's going to be my intention, to do it to the very best of my ability. But I might, just based on the amount of sleep I had or the amount of sleep I didn't have or the extra stressors in my life or the financial issue that I'm facing for that day, I might not love to the fullest level that I did the day before.
Right.
But I still did my best for the day.
Right. With
Does
what you had.
Yeah. And I think that revolutionizes the performance mentality of Christianity, right? And of our faith. That it's more about the motive and my intention, right? My intention is always to love Jesus, love others, and take care of my soul, right?
Right.
That is always going to be my intention. But there are going to be circumstances in my life that affect the fullness of that. But just because it wasn't as full today as it was yesterday doesn't mean he's disappointed or looks down on me or anything like that.
And on those days, what a great way to open the door and invite him into helping you. Because helping you achieve at least what you can achieve. Because I know on days like that, there's sometimes where I'm like, I ain't got nothing. I don't want to love on you. I don't want to tell you nothing nice. Matter of fact, if you look at me, it might just not go well.
Right.
But that opens up an invitation to be like, okay, Lord, here's what I'm dealing with.
That's right.
It's not a shock to you. Like, can you pour your grace and mercy into me so that I'm able to go past my circumstances
And still love the people in front of me.
Live above my circumstances.
Right.
Like eagles fly above the storm.
Yes.
Can you get me above the storm?
Right.
So that I can display the best version of you that I got today.
Absolutely. That's a great way to say it. The best version of me that I got today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only reason I got that version is because it's running through you.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's completely pouring
100%
through you. Like, it is not me going out and trying to fake it till I
Yes.
make it. It's not me being like, well, bless your heart, Jesus loves you.
No.
It is like, this is me. And without you, without you dwelling in me, without you moving in me, without you stirring in me, like, I just don't have anything left to offer.
Right.
So I need that. Like, I
Yes.
think sometimes we just miss that invitation.
Absolutely. I agree. Yep.
We just miss it.
Yep.
And then,
we just
then
rest.
we
Just
we
rest
beat
in the
ourselves
Lord.
up about it, right?
Yep.
Oh, I was a horrible Christian today.
I know.
Oh, I'm going to have to ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
Oh, what if he comes tonight? Am I going to make it in? Like, it's not like that.
Yeah.
He's a God of mercy and grace.
Yeah.
And we deserve nothing.
Right. Yes.
But yet he still just pours
Right.
and
Yes.
guides and
Yes.
holds your hand.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't know anybody else who does that.
Right.
I just don't.
Right.
I've thought real hard. Still haven't come up with it.
I agree.
So like I told you, I always talk to my guests before they come, clearly. And I'm like, here's my personality. Here's what I do. I kind of follow the same thing.
Yeah.
So I told her that we were going to have a part of application because I believe that all of this without application is just a bunch of chatting, which is great.
Sure.
We need to chat.
Yeah.
But when
How
people
do we work it through?
Yeah, but when people get off and they go, man, that resonates with me, or man, I understand that, or gosh, that was a big light bulb moment for me. I don't want ever for people to walk away and say, but I don't know what to do with it. Like, how do I do something with that? I see how she did it, but I'm not her.
Right.
And we don't want to have the comparison.
Right.
Should I just go do Beverly's plan?
Yeah.
How do I do my plan?
Yeah.
So we talked about that, and we said, you said something really cool. You said, honor the closing of the season.
Yes.
That was one of the things. And I think it stemmed from
really
something
big.
you were going
Yes.
through. So I want you to definitely share that as part
Sure.
of some encouragement, some tip. Like, how can people move forward with purpose? How can they start that?
Yeah.
So what would you tell them?
Well, it kind of goes back to rituals are important in our lives. They mark the beginning and the ending of things. And if you're at the end of a chapter, a season in your life, and you're trying to move into a new one, you need to do something I'm going to say, you need to do something physical to close the chapter. Ideally, my husband and I would have dropped Matthew off at school and then gone on some grand vacation, right? That
Is
would
it a
have been
college
like,
vacation?
boom, that's what we're doing. But he's a teacher and he had to go to work on Monday. So,
There's that.
yeah, there's that. So we couldn't do that. And I think that was part of my lostness, but my, this kind of all happened at the same time. The nostalgia, the longing, the president, and then my counselor suggested that you can like write a letter, like write a goodbye letter to your kids or to closing that season of your
ending
chapter.
that chapter.
And then I'm going to try to describe this on air, but then you like rip it into strips and you weave it together. So you end up with this beautiful kind of woven tapestry. And I got really, really into it. Like, that really resonated with me. So I immediately went to Michael's and I picked some scrapbook paper and the colors that I love. And one of them was this like travel bon voyage paper, because I was ready to believe that there are more adventures waiting. So everything was really symbolic. And then I picked out, I went to Home Goods and I picked out a candle that would represent this season, the closing of this season, the opening of a new season. It had 3 wicks because I have 3 kids. I usually pick really citrusy, bright smells, and I'm like, I don't feel citrusy and bright. So it's a deep autumn sort of scent. And I went home and I literally wrote my kids a goodbye letter. Thank you so much for this season. I don't even remember everything I said, but I know that I also spent a moment telling each of them kind of like, I wish I would have known this about you when I was raising you,
Right.
So my own sort of
So
like,
it's a reflection.
it's a reflection sort of thing. They will never read it. But I even bought this beautiful gold frame and I, put it all in there because like this is the masterpiece of 30 years of my life, you know? I had the candle lit. Why I haven't lit that candle since. But that was a real marking of time that, okay, I'm now ready to move forward. You have to be ready to mark that time, and you have to figure out what does that for you. You know, it could be a weekend trip to Galveston. It could be something monumental with your spouse. It could be a girl trip. I mean, you know, there's so many different ways, but I think you have to find a way to mark. I have a friend that did one of those mini triathlon things, right? She's not an athlete at all, but after her last kid left, that's what she spent kind of a year doing. So, you know, something that kind of marks, this is the end and here's the beginning.
Yeah. And I told you that again, because I don't have emptiness syndrome, I just want to keep reminding y'all that I'm not an expert at this, but I do have that same experience for what was lost for me when God called me into ministry.
Which you should share that.
Which is sad to say. I had a loss when I was called into ministry.
No, but
y'all, it was a loss.
It's a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal.
For those of you who may be new or didn't listen to season 1, episode 1, 2, and 3, which you should go back to, I have been an educator my whole life. I have my doctorate in education. There are the little sprinkles of things God put in my life. I'm the most educated person who sits in their office and does ministry. I have 5 degrees. And so there was a point where when the ministry thing happened, I ran from it and I was not excited about it. I never wanted to be in ministry. It was not my thing.
Yeah.
I didn't see it as, I definitely did not see that my days were the best days were ahead of me.
That's right.
I felt like God was taking something away that was one of the things that I knew for a fact I was good at.
Right.
And that I loved.
Yes.
And it really had defined me, whether I knew it or not.
Yes.
And so, especially being here in Houston, and I was right on the brink of like, COVID had happened. There were lots of opportunities. I thought, this is my shot. This is why you brought me here, Lord. Thank you. Turns out there was a plot twist. He did not bring me here for that at all. So I had this bag. I had this green bag. It's actually on Instagram somewhere. If you scroll way back to 2 years ago, you'll see it. I might put a picture of it up just to kind of show it again. But I had this moment, and I've never done anything like this. Okay, so this is so out of normal for me. Like usually chapters just end, and I'm just like, oh, well, we'll go over it.
Right.
But this chapter was harder. And so, and I wasn't really believing. Like I said, I wasn't really believing. Like I thought, this has got to be a really bad joke, Lord. You called the wrong person. Hang up, try again.
Yeah.
I had this green bag. And I carried all my things in it. Yes. So all my notes, my notebooks, so every time I showed up to class, I had
everything
the
was in the green bag,
right? Well, because of COVID, the green bag had sat in the closet for a solid year because nobody was really doing anything. But it was all there and waiting.
Yes.
Like all I had to do was pick the green bag up.
Right, because it was all still in there.
Yeah. It's all still there. It's all, the files are in the computer. Everything is still mapped out because if you're an educator, you're way... you're way OCD about that stuff. So everything is marked with the class, and this is what worked, and here's the notes of what didn't work. Change this, change that. Classes upon classes, right? And I was still struggling with it, and I happened to open the closet, and there was the green bag, and the green bag made me mad because I knew everything was in it.
Right.
And I had clearly heard God say, "You're never going back." So I thought, it's really funny that you mentioned this a minute ago, but I thought that God was taking teaching away from me. And I guess I thought I was going to become master
chef. That would be really
hard. So you're going to take that out and put this in. Like that's what it felt like.
Yes.
Right? And I'm looking around all these people who do ministry, and I'm like, I don't have any of that. Like I didn't go, ooh, we're in big trouble here, Lord. Yeah. So what I ended up doing in that moment was I was trying to embrace it. I put on some music. There was a CD out at the time, or iTunes Music, whatever. I put it on because I'm a music person. Yeah. And as I was listening to it, I just literally took the bag and took my time taking each thing out, clipping the binders open, reading over it, and just placing it in piles.
That's so beautiful.
And none of it was going to be applicable to the season I was about to be in. So most of it went in the trash.
Yes.
But what happened was that walking through that, I had that nostalgia about, I remember when I did this. Yeah. Oh, this was so good. And I remember that this kid did that, and they told me that, and it changed the trajectory for this kid here. And there was like these wow moments that I remembered. But by the time the bag was empty, the bag was empty.
Right.
The moments were past.
It's amazing.
And so I gathered all those things up. and I took them to the garbage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no, I didn't throw any of the pens away or any
Right,
of the
right,
notebooks
right,
because
right.
you just don't do that.
Yeah.
But I just said to myself,
Yes. This is done.
why does this bag hold so much importance? Because I'm never going to pick this bag up in this capacity again.
Right.
I have some things that are brewing that I need to put in a bag.
Yeah.
Why can't it be the same bag?
Yeah.
So I threw those things in the garbage. I drug the garbage can to the street.
Yeah.
Kind of bid a farewell
Right.
to them.
Yes.
And I came in and I put those little things, which were the things I needed in my new bag.
Yeah.
And there was something very enlightening
Absolutely.
about that bag had just got a new purpose.
Right.
And it didn't fix, again, it didn't I still had to work through some things.
Absolutely.
But
it was
when
a moment of moving forward.
And when I saw the green bag,
embrace.
I see the green bag from that moment on, it's the bag of what I'm in now.
Yeah.
And all the things I'm doing are in that bag.
That's so good.
Now.
Yep.
And now when I see the green bag, I'm not upset.
Right.
And there are moments, I had my own epiphany with God one day in my kitchen through that whole struggle where God was like, I don't know if he talks to you like this, but he talks to me like this. So did we have a misunderstanding because you're still a teacher? I didn't take it away. I just need you to teach about me. Not all that other stuff.
Right.
And I went,
Oh. Okay.
because I felt like I wasn't a teacher anymore.
Right.
Like somebody had stolen out of me.
Right. Because you probably teach the same way you're sitting here doing this
Oh, yes,
podcast.
I am.
You know what I'm saying? So it's still what we talked about. Like he's still going to work in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But the important thing about everything that both of us just shared for the listeners today is that God works with your personality to end that season and start a new one.
Yep.
You know? And not everybody needs to be that ritualized about it. Maybe they don't necessarily. Not everybody will need these. But I think.
But being open.
And I think highly intentional, missional, passionate, folks are going to need some closure and then some moving on moments.
Yeah. Like I said, we're all so personal. We're all so different. Like I was in my 40s when that happened. And I've had job changes. I've had different degrees. I never had to have a moment like that. Right. This particular calling in my life called for a special moment.
Yeah.
And I needed to walk through that moment.
Absolutely.
And like I said, for me and for your moment. And it might not be that way.
Right.
So if that's not your moment, here's some things. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like you're not doing anything wrong. Don't call Susan.
That's right.
You don't have to call Susan. But maybe for you, some things I can offer is maybe it's just prayer and reflection.
Yep.
Maybe it's just spending time
with the Lord.
Intentional time about that topic.
Yes.
I'm not talking about a fervent prayer or just your normal. Maybe it's just, hey, I'm struggling with this. Maybe it's just talking.
Right. Right.
In your case, you didn't need to go find the scriptures because you knew them, but maybe you need to get in the Bible.
Absolutely.
And find a scripture that you can set as your cornerstone.
Hold on. Yes.
Yeah. And it's when you get in that space, like I know I had a couple of times that you go to that scripture.
Yes.
And it's the reminder.
Yes.
It's the Joshua 12 stones.
Yes.
Maybe that's your thing.
Yes.
Clearly.
My reminder, my life verse is Psalm 37:4. Delight in the Lord and he'll give you the desires of your heart. So there was, I would say there probably was this little part in me that was, I do believe that. I don't know what that looks like.
And being okay with that.
Yeah. Like right now, I fully live in that. Like, absolutely, he's going to give me the desires of my heart,
Right.
But, and in different ways that delight and surprise. But even in that moment, that scripture was such a cornerstone for me. So I think that even in the hard grief part, that was such a cornerstone. So I think that what you said is true. Like if you don't have that life verse, or you don't have a scripture that the Lord continues to bring back to you, go, if you can, go seek one. Right.
You got Genesis through Revelations.
Yes.
I bet you can find one. If you can't, feel free to email us. We'll help you find one. That's right.
Yeah.
If you're an extrovert, like I'm an extrovert,
you better go find people to talk to.
You need to find a community of people.
That's right.
Spiritual people.
Yes.
Volunteer with them.
Yes.
There's lots of opportunities. If you can't find those, we'll help you find those too. I'm not a journaler. I've heard lots of people say that journaling opens up the windows. Yeah, it never opens anything for me. So maybe spending time through journaling.
Yes.
being okay with new routines.
Yes.
It's okay to not wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning to get all 15 of your ducklings.
That's right.
On the pond.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yep.
What does 7 o'clock in the morning look like for you now?
Yeah. It's even okay to sit with your husband with your TV trays and watch TV. Never allowed in our house growing up, like for dinner time.
Do you like you're breaking a rule?
Yeah, we just felt like we were breaking a rule. You know, like if we let them eat dinner while we were watching TV, it was this huge, gigantic treat, you know? So like that's a simple little routine that it's okay to kind of relish in that and go, look at it. Yeah.
It's okay to have a new routine. It's okay for you to go to the gym at 7 o'clock in the morning. Yes. It's okay to go on a walk. Yeah. Like, guess what? It's your house, your rules.
That's right. It always was. It's just now.
Yeah. But
really
now it's
rules.
really yours. It's really all about you. And then I think most importantly is just goal setting with God. You know, be realistic. Have prayerful goals for the new chapter. Seek his guidance. And like you said, it's okay to sit and wait for that response. I can tell y'all, I have personal experience, yet never has a bottle dropped from the sky immediately and said, do this now.
Right.
I had, we talked about this over the Advent special we did. Faith, joy, hope, love, they're all active. You have to have action. If you are sitting in the boat thinking that if I just sit here and be really still, he's just going to fix it all.
Yeah.
He requires action on your part.
Right.
You have to step, and then he'll step in line with you.
Yeah.
If you notice, I think the footprints on the sand, all those poems you see, the footprints are a little behind.
Yeah.
Because you have to put action behind what you're doing.
Yeah.
Nobody just shows up at the door and says, here you go.
Right.
You thought it appeared.
Yeah.
You have to do your part so God can show up and walk through it with you while he's doing your part. Right. And I think that's so big because I think a lot of people think if I just stay right here, I can't move, I might miss God. Oh, you're not going to miss him. Yeah. You're not going to miss what he has for you.
Right.
But you got to be active.
Yeah. And in the grief part of it, being active is just being willing to talk to him.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Take it to him.
Yeah. And so again, as somebody who is very much an activator, it's in my top 5, and a planner and a maker of life, like I'm going to go make life happen. What do you do when there is no life to make happen and you're not real sure exactly, like he's not said, this is your next step. Right. So then the action is not necessarily, I don't know if I'm going to say this the right way, the next step out of the boat is not necessarily, I'm going to save the world tomorrow. Right.
All by myself.
The action is not necessarily, well, there you go. I'm going to volunteer at the Houston Food Bank 5 days a week and blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not necessarily this big, gigantic activity, right? A flurry of activity. Right. It can just be the step of, I'm going to talk to you today.
Yes. I'm going to be intentional with the time I spend with you today.
Yes. And that's different than what you said about just sitting there and waiting for it to happen.
Yeah. But I even think that even people get the misconception, and clearly she's got this right. It's not about sitting there and I'm not saying you need to go find an action. I'm saying though, being intentional is an action.
Yes, that's what we're saying.
Being in prayer is an action.
Yes.
Talking to God is an action. So when I say sitting there, I mean sitting there literally doing nothing.
Right.
Nada.
Exactly. Right.
Because through the prayer, through the conversation, through the meeting time, he is going to start doing something. And and you will know.
Right.
So yes, thank you. Thank you. So, and again, remember that seeking God for a new purpose is a journey.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to take it one step at a time.
One step at a time.
And these applications are meant to be adaptable to who you are in your circumstances.
Absolutely.
And to contribute to a more intentional and God-centered transition into the next chapter.
Yes.
whatever that is.
Yes.
Whether it's with kids or not with kids.
That's right.
Wherever you are. Okay, so as we draw the curtain on today's episode, we've journeyed through the landscape of the next chapter, aka Life After Children. Yeah. We did hit on some other things, though.
Yeah.
And what a rich conversation this has been with you. And so a heartfelt thank you, Beverly, for coming today and really just being so transparent and open to sharing the wisdom and the truth and the insights that that resonate with the essence of the transformative process or phase. Yeah. As we all navigate the uncharted territory ahead, you know, I think it's important to hold on to the promise that God isn't finished with us. And I mentioned freedom nest, you know, our freedom nest are places of untold potential. And with faith as our compass, we step into the unknown with hope. Hope that God has another role. That God has a heavenly role. So remember, listeners, this next chapter is not a conclusion, but an invitation to allow God to pick up that pen and to keep writing. So until our next time, may your journey be filled with faith, purpose, and the joy of discovering God's plan with you in the next chapter. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Southern Soul Chats. We hope you found inspiration, encouragement, and valuable insights to carry with you through your week. We invite you to subscribe to Southern Soul Chats so that you never miss an episode. We are a branch of Stepping Forward Ministries, a 501c3 Christian nonprofit, and we kindly ask for you to consider making a donation today. Your contribution will play a vital role in sustaining the podcast and allowing us to continue sharing these impactful stories of faith. As you leave today, remember your story is a part of a bigger narrative and your faith has power to guide your path. Keep stepping forward with hope, trust, and assurance that you're never alone. This is Dr. Miranda Ferguson. We hope you have a great week and keep stepping forward.